Hey guys, it's Cobra DBS here, and I wanted to do a pickups video. I haven't done one in a while, and quite frankly, I really haven't gotten that much stuff. But I got a nice little lot of Genesis stuff in the past 2 weeks or so, and thought I'd make a good video. So, just a real quick blurb, I guess, a little backstory. Kind of in the background, I've always liked collecting for the Genesis. It's never really been a primary focus for my channel that I can recall at any point. Earlier this year, I went on a little stint to get some Genesis games, and then I just kind of stopped. And then randomly, I can't really recall what had piqued my interest about restarting it, but I started again. So I'm picking up Genesis games as I can. And what I really like about the Genesis the most is that I can't think of a console that has more like hidden gems. And I know that's such an overused phrase, and I don't mean to use it, just willy-nilly. It is, in a lot of these games you'll see a handful of them I had never even heard of 2 months ago. But you follow the community, and Reddit has a good Sega Genesis page, for example, and you read the comments, and you can find out that there's actually a lot of games on here that are very good. So let's go get started then. So a while back, I had been looking for a replacement artwork insert for one of my games. I'm almost positive that I haven't showed this. But the thing about Genesis is that getting the boxes is relatively easy compared to pretty much any other console ever. It's very, very easy. The cardboard boxes are a different story, but for the most part, it's quite easy. So I knew that I could get a replacement insert, and eventually I found it. It's nothing all that wild, but it's a copy of Predator 2, or I should say, an insert for Predator 2. Now, I have had this game for a very, very long time, and it's actually quite good. It's like a twin-stick style shooter. Not really twin-stick, but definitely that overhead Akari Warriors vibe or style. And mine had been water damaged. Quite frankly, I think years ago, it was on the bottom shelf of my collection, and I believe a dog had peed on it, one of our dogs. Can't prove it. Pretty sure that's what happened. And the reason I think that is because the other game that's right next to it, Philios, has the same problem. And that game, I'm still looking for an artwork replacement for. But that game's a little harder to come by, so I'll eventually get one. But it was like a few bucks. So I got a nice replacement for that. Nothing too special there. And in the same type of situation, I've had a copy of Gauntlet 4 for a very long time. I can't really recall where I got this from, but for the longest time, I had just a box and a cartridge. And a box and manual, or just a manual, didn't really pop up often. And there's also a black and white version of this, and I believe this game was re-released in one of the cardboard boxes, so that would generally be the one that had the black and white manual, so I wanted the colored manual. And so I was a little bit patient, whatever. It wasn't high on my list, but eventually somebody had released or listed on eBay a box and cartridge, or a box and manual only for Gauntlet 4, starting at $1. It was a bid. So an old tactic, and I suggest you use this a lot, is message the seller. Say, hey, look, I want this. Typically, if it's a lower demand item or kind of something obscure, you can often get a pretty good price on it. So I said, hey, look, I'm interested. Would you consider a buy it now price? If so, what are you thinking? So I sent them a message, and they responded back and said, sure, I'd really love to get $2 for it. So obviously, I bought it. I bought the cartridge, or the case, and the manual only. I think it came with a box, but the box was not in that great a shape. It was missing the hang tab for sure, and in fact, this one needs a replacement. If you can see, it's kind of a little bit torn there. But anyway, so long story short, I now have a manual and a spare case for Gauntlet 2. So after the end of this video, you'll see I have a couple of spare cases that I'll probably offload at some point, or at least spare artwork. in some of these cases. All right, so I mentioned a little bit earlier that the Genesis has like a super big catalog for like hidden gems. This is one of those games, and it might not be that great, but I thought it was very interesting because it's a procedurally generated kind of roguelike game, which is all the craze now, right? You know, your Dead Cells, your Moonlighters, your million other ones, right? Sparklight, there's another one. But this is on the Genesis, and I thought, wow, you know, how cool would it be to go back and play one of those? And that game is Fatal Labyrinth. Kind of interesting artwork there. Just love these black box Genesis games, so even if the artwork is not good, which I would not call this bad by any stretch, it's usually pushes me over the edge to buy it. Unfortunately, this one's missing the hang tab. You can see it was ripped off the jagged edge up top. But I might leave it that way because it has the original KB Toys sticker on it for $39.99. I think I paid $20. I'm not sure. It is complete and in quite good shape. Haven't played this one yet, but I will. I just bought it more or less for the interesting gameplay, like the early on roguelike type gameplay. Wanted to give that a shot. Oh, where do we go from here? I mean, let's just stick it to no particular order. So when I come up, or when I start collecting a console, I tend to make a list of the games that I want. I do not necessarily collect games for their collectability all the time, but I more so try to get games that I want to play. And if I do buy a game for collectability, it's important to me to get a good price because I can't really afford to buy games that I'll lose money on. So if I buy a game that's worth $100, if I can get it for 80, then I know I'm never going to lose money on that game. I can always get rid of it for 100 and maybe break even or whatever. But I'm not in the habit of buying games, not liking them, and then just losing money on them. So on that list were, well, none of those games, frankly, besides Fatal Labyrinth, but this one was on there, and this one actually came from Reddit. I mean, the suggestion for this game came from Reddit. Somebody had posted that they got a copy of Crusader of Senti. I mean, I was reading some of the comments, and they were saying games like Crusader of Senti. What was the other one? I think it was Light Crusader. I'm almost positive it was Light Crusader. And then this game were amongst some of the best like action RPGs on the system. So I went ahead and found an awesome condition copy of Landstalker. This came from Video Game Sage, which I've talked about a few times, but it's been a little while. That's basically the replacement for Nintendo Age that's now gone, but not forgotten for sure. I put a wanted ad out on Video Game Sage, said, hey, I'm looking for these games. Guy messaged me, said, hey, I've got a copy of Landstalker. I asked him what kind of price he was thinking about. He said, well, it sells for anywhere from like, I think he said $45 to like $65, which is correct. He said, so I could do 45 shipped, which is really great. And that's really what I try to do when I sell things is, look, if you can get it for 45 on eBay, it's not going to do me any good to try and sell it to you for more than that because you can get it for that price elsewhere. And if I go to eBay and can only get $45 out of something, then I'm better off just charging you less because I'm going to have to pay the eBay fees anyway. So, whatever. $45 for this was a good price. He sent a single picture, said it was complete. He had all the stuff kind of laid out. Kind of a grainy picture. Couldn't really tell the condition, but he said it was good. And he's actually not kidding. This is amongst one of the best Genesis cases I have ever seen. A very small dent in the plastic on the front. The hang tab doesn't even have like stress marks on it. I don't know if I have one here that maybe does. Maybe Predator 2. Yeah, so you see when you it gets these like that white line there at the top. That's from it being bent. This has like never been bent. It doesn't have it. In fact, when I first got it, I was really inspecting it, thinking it could easily be a reproduction, if not the whole thing, the case. As it turns out, it's not a reproduction, and if it is, it's a very, very good one, because it has the Sega logo inside in here. I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but it's there. So pretty much I knew not a reproduction. This is one of those, it's an action-adventure game. It's an isometric style, and I really want to give this one a shot. This is one of the ones that I really actually wanted to play. And I believe this is a game that has a sequel on the Saturn called Dark Savior. I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that correctly. Alright, so this next game, if you watched the Infrequent Jog podcast 2 weeks ago now, with Business 17, we talked a little bit about Wonder Boy and Monster World on the Genesis. And the reason it came up is because we were both bidding on one, and he happened to outbid me. Apparently. I mean, depending on the auction, he likely did outbid me to win a copy, a complete copy. And ever since that point, I had been looking for a complete copy of the game, and it doesn't pop up that often for a reasonable price. A lot of people, myself included, didn't even know this game was on the Genesis because Wonder Boy is more known for being a Master System series, but it is on the Genesis. This is the only one, at least in North America, that I'm aware of. I was a big fan of the new spiritual spin-off, whatever, Monster Boy on the Switch, and I'm sure that game's a little bit different than this in more ways than one, but I wanted to give this one a shot. So eventually somebody had listed one on eBay for what I deemed to be a pretty good price for a complete copy, and I went ahead and picked it up. In good shape, and that's another one that I will be diving into. Okay, let's see. Let's start with this one. So, generally, I don't play RPGs. If I do play RPGs, they tend to be more action RPGs. I wouldn't necessarily consider Zelda an RPG, but typically that's the vein I like to go. I'm not big on turn-based games. I wish I were. I'm just not good enough at them, and they just kind of bore me a little bit. Eventually, maybe I'll find one that I really enjoy. Chrono Trigger might be an exception, because I thought that game was pretty fun for what I played. Anyway, at a disc replay, and they have a case for some Genesis games, and in there, you've got good stuff. Not necessarily games I'm interested in, but they had this. They had a copy of Shadowrun. It was marked at $59.99, which at the time I didn't really raise much of an eyebrow at, didn't think much of. I checked out the value online, and it tended to be more along the like $70 to $80 range. So all of a sudden, $60 seemed pretty good, and it's a game that I've always kind of wanted to try. And if you, I'm sure Intellivision Dude has mentioned this in a handful of his videos. It's one of his favorite games on the console, and he always compares it to the Super Nintendo version, which I have owned in the past and didn't really like. So I went ahead and picked it up. It is complete. I kept my receipt in there, but it is complete. Comes with a Sega Visions registration. I don't know if this game had its own registration card or not, but in this case, it's the Sega Visions one. And it's all in excellent condition. So that was one of the things that really sold me on it. Just a few little dog ears on the manual, maybe a little rip here or there, but really in great shape. So I have played this one, so I spent a couple of hours playing it. I'm pretty much going in blind, totally ignorant, don't really know what I'm doing. But this is one where I think I'm going to spend a little bit of time actually trying to play and learn how to play it. And I think eventually I'll like it. And like I said in the beginning, if I don't, $60, I'm not really going to lose any money on it if I decide to get rid of it, which is kind of where I'll take more risk on a game that I'm not sure if I'll like. So we're at the disc replay. I buy that. I'm looking behind the counter, and I notice stuck up on the wall, kind of like this. This kind of like that. This Earthworm Jim slipcover. And I said to the person checking me out at the register, I said, "Hey, what is that Earthworm Jim thing back there? Is that just the slipcover?" And they went and checked it out, and it was taped to the wall. And they said, "Yep, sure enough." And it was flattened, like straight up, like this, flattened. They said, "Yep, it's just the slipcover, well, no game." And I said, "Well, would you get? What is it for sale?" And they said, "You can just have it." So at that point, obviously, I'm in. So I got that for nothing. Now it is, again, just the slipcover, but you can find a manual and a cartridge and an insert fairly easily, so eventually I'll piece that together. Now if it were Earthworm Jim 2, that'd be even better, because that only came in a cardboard case, I believe, and is certainly more difficult to find than Earthworm Jim 1 is. So I'll eventually piece that together and have an Earthworm Jim. But that was a cool thing for them to throw in for free. So, let me go through a few other things, and then the last game has a pretty good story. So, I mentioned that I was upgrading cases for like Predator 2 and Gauntlet. Wanted to get a manual for that. There are a handful of games in my collection that I want to get condition upgrades for, or whatever. So, be that the manual or maybe the cartridge, or even one of the things I want to do is get all cases that have hang tabs on them that originally came with hang tabs, which is most games. Some sports games, a lot of EA games didn't. Some early Sega games didn't. Anyway, but most did. So I want to eventually upgrade all my games to have hang tabs. But another thing I want to do is replace artwork that is a little bit damaged or needs to be replaced. So here's a good example of one. I went ahead and took a gander at most of my Genesis games. And I've always considered my copy of Rocket Knight to be in very good shape. But upon a little bit of closer inspection, it is actually, it has a torn corner down here. That corner has a little tear on it. A few ripples down here, and there's a slight browning that you probably can't make out on the camera. And I bumped into, and the reason I was looking is because I had bumped into a guy on a Facebook group who was selling Genesis inserts, original ones. And so one of the ones I got was a Rocket Knight Adventure, a Rocket Knight Adventures, I should say. It's almost like new. You can tell it's been in a case at least one point in its life, but it is in excellent condition. So what I'll do is I'll replace my copy with this one, and I'll be good to go. That one will be basically mint. Similar situation, and I'm not going to bother taking it out, but with this game, Ghostbusters. I've had this for a very long time. You can kind of see a few dents and bruises up in here. There is a tear in it. Where's that at? It's on the edge, up here towards the top. And that's not the easiest game to find. So he also had a copy of Ghostbusters, or an insert for Ghostbusters, and I went ahead and got that. So I can't remember the prices, but everything I bought from the guy was shipped for less than, I think, or right around $30. And I got 3 more things from him. So yeah, I mentioned this cardboard insert here, right? So there's cartridge holders for these cardboard boxes, and I went ahead and got 3 of them. There's a handful of different kinds of these cardboard inserts. There's different styles. Sonic and Knuckles, for example, has a unique one to itself. I don't believe any other game has one like that, because that cartridge is so big. And then there's some that go vertically. There's some that go horizontally when they hold the cartridge. There's a slew of different kinds. But a couple of my games needed replacements because they're not in very good shape. Plus, this new Earthworm Jim needed one also. So I went ahead and got all that. And like I said, I can't remember exactly how much everything was, but it was definitely around the $30 mark shipped. So I thought that was a good deal. Okay, so one more thing, one more game. I don't necessarily know that this is the best for last, but at least has the best story, I would say. So that disc replay we were at, like I mentioned, they have had a handful of games in the case, and one of those games I looked at and then just simply passed on it. So fast forward to, like, I think the next day, the next morning, I'm looking up videos on, obscure or underrated hidden gem type Genesis games. And Metal Jesus Rocks, of course, who's notorious for hidden gem videos, had one. In fact, he had 3 with John Hancock. And so I watched the video, and he mentioned a game. And it's a game I used to have on Super Nintendo, which apparently they also featured in the Super Nintendo video. But anyway, I had it and didn't really care for it that much, got rid of it, whatever. But there's a Genesis version as well that's apparently similar in gameplay, but it was featured in their video. So anyway, I'll hold up the slipcase first, and then we'll go from there. So it's Doom Troopers. This is one of the cardboard box games. It's a Turrican style, right? A shooter, a side-scrolling shooter, and Doom Troopers is I think it was like a card game, trading card game, or something like that. I don't know that it had a like a comic book or a TV show or anything, but I think it was a trading card game. And one thing that really made me want to get this game is that if you look on the cover of the game, there's a little blue circle that says it includes a playing card, and I didn't know that. It didn't even occur to me. But in Metal Jesus Rocks video, one of the things that John Hancock said, he said, you know, the game's not all that hard to find, but most of the time when you do find it, it's missing that that card. So the first thing I did was checked out the value of something like this. And it ranged all over the place, right? You can find cart box and manual for less than $100. But there were a few that sold with the poster, the card, the manual, everything for, you know, up closer to $200, which I thought meant, well, and they had the game marked for $80. And so I thought, well, if it has the card, then $80 is a great price. And again, if I don't like the game, I'm not going to lose any money on it. So I called the Disc Replay because it's not necessarily close to my house. I said, hey, look, I was there yesterday, had this game in the case. I'm thinking about, I'm going to be in the area again today, which I was, actually, coincidentally. I'm thinking about stopping in, but since COVID and everything, it's a bit of a hassle. Do you think you could just open the game up and let me know if what's included? So the girl who answered the phone did. And she said, well, it looks like it's just the cartridge and the manual. And I said, oh, okay, could you just maybe double check and look for like a card or something in there? And so she's looking around, she's like, well, no, I don't see anything. And then she's like, oh, wait, hold on. There is something in here. So sure enough, inside, and I put it in a little plastic baggie, was the playing card or collector's card or whatever, called the Noted Collector. So I put it in this little plastic bag just to kind of keep it free from being shelfware, essentially. And I said, oh, wow, great. Now, I don't know a ton about this, so I'm assuming that's one of the several that could have been in here. I'm guessing that it's not just a regular Doom Troopers card. And it may be, and I could have gotten hosed, I don't know. But even at $80, you know, like, not a bad price. But one other thing that it was missing was the poster. So there's a poster that goes with this game. So here I go trying to track down a poster now. And I found an eBay listing that was for a cartridge and the poster. And so I messaged again, and he was like, how much did he want? I think it was like $50 or $60. And I said, look, I'm only after the poster. Would you consider splitting them up? He said he would. We came to a deal. And boom, I was able to get the poster. And this is the poster here. And I'll try not to mess it up or rip it or anything. It's actually a pretty cool poster. It has a huge Contra vibe to me. But there's the poster. If I could focus, there we go. And on the back, it advertises a handful of Playmates Interactive, or Playmates Entertainment games. So Earthworm Jim has a Playmates game, stuff like that. So all told, I'm in on this game for like a little over $100, which I thought was a pretty good deal. And this one could use replacing this insert, so I might replace it with one of those. We will see. Haven't played this game yet. I played the Super Nintendo one a long time ago. I don't know how good this one is. So anyway, that's the end of the video. Just some Genesis stuff I wanted to show off, and hopefully I'll keep doing or keep obtaining things that warrant doing a pickups video, and we can kind of keep the collector stuff going on the channel. So if you have any suggestions for other games I need to pick up, definitely drop a comment. I'm always interested in hearing what's out there. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you guys next time.